Yes, Geordies, welcome back to another episode. And I was going to spend today doing a preview for Chelsea on Sunday, but then we got linked to a midfielder. This is a midfielder that I have spoken about in previous videos. So I thought, why not look at him as an individual? So I'm here to tell you everything you need to know: strengths, weaknesses, style of play, and how he would fit in Newcastle United if he was to arrive. Now, this is a midfielder that you've probably never seen me play before, probably never even heard his name before he got linked to us, and that is Ibrahima Sory Bangoura. So let's break down who he is first of all. Well, he was born on the 5th of January 2004, which makes him 21 at the moment. He stands at a monstrous 6'3". He's made 39 senior appearances and he's got no recorded injuries to date. He's a youth product of Johnson Academy before joining Genk in May 2022, signing a 4-year deal. He made his senior debut on the 24th of April 2024 against Saint Union Gilwa. But the one thing I will say about that, in reality, he has been playing men's football since he joined Genk, because he went straight into young Genk. They play in the lower leagues of Belgian football. So in my opinion, this prepares players physically a lot better to transition into senior football than the current setup in England, because in England, we'll play under 21s football, under 18s football, then we'll jump straight into senior football. In my opinion, physically wise and getting used to competing against men and grown physical men, the other leagues around the world are a lot better preparing players for that role, but that's for a different day. So we are going to start by looking at his strengths. So what are his strengths? Well, he's currently making a name for himself in Belgium. His consistent performances are now backed up by statistics, which we are going to look at the end of the video, and we're also going to compare him to Joelinton, Bruno, and Tonali. He's excellent defensively with a diverse defensive skill set. He can tackle, intercept, he can block, and he's got huge numbers in his ball recoveries. And that's a crucial part of Newcastle United. We make a lot of ball recoveries per 90, so having someone that excels in that area is a good profile to have. Bangura takes an active, aggressive approach in defending, which fits Newcastle United's system, because we go into a man-to-man press. We want to win the ball as high up the pitch as possible. So if you've got a player that's capable of winning the ball as high up the pitch as possible, that fits into our ethos and our style of play. Monumentally strong in one-on-one situations, playing a crucial role in preventing opponents' counter-attacks, but also breaking up patterns of play. He's primarily known for his defensive capabilities as a defensive midfielder, particularly his ability to win the ball back and disrupt opposition's attacks. Bangura has a physically imposing presence. Standing at 6'3", he's got long strides, which give him advantage in all kinds of duels. Bangura doesn't carry the ball much, so he's technically very good. He doesn't make a lot of impact in possession. He doesn't carry the ball a lot much. He doesn't progress the play with his ball carrying very much. But when he does, he's usually successful. He's averaging 1 take on per 90, but he's got a success rate of 67%, which is quite good considering he doesn't get involved in the general play very much. He's a rangy midfielder who uses his frame to sweep up the ball away in moments where the opponents think that they're broken free. So even when he gets overran or dribbled past, he's got these wonderful long strides that allow him to make ball recoveries. At 6'3", he's an imposing presence. He's got power, athleticism, which allows him to cover every blade of grass. And then finally, he's very good with his long ball distribution. What I will say about his passing is he's very accurate. He's averaging above 90% on all of his passes, whether that be short, medium, or long. It's just his decision making what lets him down. And that's why we're going to move on to his weaknesses right now, because there is a lot of weaknesses with young players, especially somebody that's only made 39 senior appearances. But the main weakness in his flow, and this is why I don't think he can play the Bruno role, he's probably more suited to the Joelinton role and then fill in at times with the Tonali role, and I'll tell you exactly why throughout this video. But creativity, you're getting little next to no creativity from Bangura. You could put this down to responsibilities at Genk, so he could be tasked with a role of not being creative. But even when you watch him play, you can see and notice that he hasn't got that spark of magic in the final third. He hasn't got that ability to make a cutting edge in that final third and really make an impact. Lack of senior experience, this is noticeable in his all-round game. It does need refinement. He's most noticeably for his positional awareness, but also decision making. Ball retention skills. Once he wins the ball, he needs to understand the moment of the game. He needs to understand when he needs to quicken it up, but also when he needs to slow it down. Making the right decisions in these moments are crucial for Newcastle United, because we counter-attack. So we want our team, when we win the ball, to really gun-ho, to really step on the gas and really get at the opponents. Just needs to learn how and when to make the right decisions. He also needs to become more progressive in his play. He's very good at opening the game up. He's got a long ball, switching the play, making the pitch big, which I really like because that's suited to Newcastle United because we're better in open spaces. But at times he can slow the game down just by making that backwards pass, that negative pass, that sideways pass. So he just needs to have a bit more conviction in his own ability, make more use of his lengthy strides. I mentioned his ability to take on a player, but he doesn't do it very often. You'll see it happen less than once a game, but he's got the capabilities. So have more belief in yourself to really power through the opposition. I would like to see him make a more impact and be a strong ball carrier. And finally, he's very good in aerial duels. I'll give him that. He's very good, but he struggles in aerial duels against tall oppositions. So when somebody's the same height as him, he struggles in having that combativeness, but also he attracts a lot of attention of referees. He's averaging 1.5 fouls per 90, 0.29 yellow cards per 90 since his senior debut. He's very good at winning the ball back, but sometimes he can be too over-aggressive. But when it comes to ball winning, anything like that, he truly excels. I love how aggressive he is, but sometimes he can be too over-aggressive. And in the Premier League, that could become more problematic. So we're going to compare him with Joelinton, Tonali and Bruno's heat maps now, and you're going to see on the screen very shortly, there we go, that he dominates the central areas, but most of our midfielders do, apart from Joelinton, because he's tasked with that role of protecting the wide areas. Now I need to touch upon him in wide areas. I feel absolutely comfortable with him playing that Joelinton role because he's so good in one-on-one situations, and when you're covering for wide areas, you need to be comfortable in one-on-one situations, and that's because of his profile. His long limbs gives him an advantage, but he's also got unbelievable athleticism as well as agility. So he's quick on the turn. He hasn't got that explosive pace, but he's got that power that can really pull him through. So that's what I really do like about him. So if he was playing that Joelinton role, his heat map would change and look like more Joelintons, but he would have to learn the role. But remember, we're not looking at somebody to replace one of these threes. We're just looking at somebody that can come in and give them more squad depth in quality. So I want to have a look at a few statistics, and I mentioned that you get little next to no creativity. This tells you why. When it comes to shot creating actions, he's averaging 1.8 per 90, which is not great at all for a midfielder. When it comes to goal creating actions, he's creating less than 1 per 90. But as you can see, shot creating actions from take-ons, he's created nothing. From fouls drawn, he's created nothing. Most of his shot creating actions come after a shot, and we're going to talk about this very shortly and exactly why, or after a defensive duel. But after a defensive duel, it only comes 0.07, so it very rarely happens. When it comes to goal output, he scored no goals this season for Genk, and he's not having many shots. And when he does shoot, look at his average shot distance from 18 yards out. So he's not getting any good locations to make a difference or really make an impact. And he's only getting 12% of his shots on target. So I mentioned that lack of creativity, lack of spark, lack of goal efficiency. That is exactly why. But it could be down to the task he's given. When you watch him, you can see that he hasn't got that composure, that finishing, that clinicalness, that conviction in front of goal. Now, the next two slides are going to give you a little bit better reading because this is his passing and his possession. Let's start on his passing. And as you can see, he doesn't make very many passes. When he does, he usually completes them. So he's averaging above 90% on all of his passing, whether that be short, medium or long. But I must say, the majority of his passes are quite safe. He either passes sideways or backwards. Now, in Newcastle United, you can't be doing that all the time. You need to play forwards because we want to counter-attack, and the way you counter-attack is by playing forwards. So he's progressive passes in the final third, passes in the penalty area, key passes. He very rarely does it. So this is something that he would have to improve if he was to come to Newcastle United. But things like that come with experience. Once you gather more, it might be down to nerves. Could be down to nerves at senior football. So once you gather more experience, become more accustomed to your surroundings and understand the senior football a little bit more, those forward passes would increase in my opinion. But let's have a look at possession. And I mentioned that he doesn't dribble much, doesn't take on many players, but he's got a high success rate. He's averaging 1.6 dribbles per 90, but he's actually being successful in 65.2% of them. When it comes to touches, the majority of his touches come in the middle third, which I'm not surprised with because he lacks that creativity in the final third, so he's probably best suited to receiving in the middle third. But also he's that guy that starts off the play where it's just a simple pass to a player with better vision and better technical abilities. But as you can see, he's very rarely dispossessed. He's very rarely miscontrolling the ball, which is pleasing to see. But now we'll move on to what his biggest qualities are, his defensive skill set and the rest of them, like ball recoveries, aerial duels won. But let's start with his defensive skill set because our highest tackler is Bruno with 2.2 per 90. He's averaging 4.2 tackles per 90 and he's winning an enormous 2.7 of them. That is outstanding. But when I speak about his diverse skill set, he's intercepting a lot per 90. He's blocking out passing lanes, he's making clearances, and his ball recoveries averaging 7.7 per 90, which is phenomenal. And I mentioned his comfortability in one-on-one situations. He excels in one-on-one situations. He's averaging a percentage of 67.6 against dribblers. That has him in the top 1 percentile against midfielders in Europe, which is absolutely outstanding. He's averaging 6.2 tackles and interceptions per 90, which again has him in the top 1 percentile of midfielders in Europe. So when it comes to defending transitions or breaking up play, he's absolutely everything you would want in your team. Now, why you need a profile like this in your team, especially when you're counter-attacking, because when you're counter-attacking, you commit bodies forward. So you need somebody that's got that little bit of discipline that can screen the back line for just in case the ball gets overturned. Because if you're attacking and the opposition managed to win the ball, you're out of your shape. So they can counter-attack back on you. So it's like a game of chess. But when you've got a player like Bangura who excels in defensive qualities, he can prevent any danger from happening. So here's a comparison, all three in a chart diagram. And as you can see, ball recoveries, he shines so highly. And that's what I like about him. But also his progressive carrying isn't bad either, whereas Bruno excels in his progressive passes, his ball retention, his chance creation. And that's exactly why I don't feel he can play the Bruno role, because if you compare Bangura's chance creation to Bruno's chance creation, if you were to fill him in Bruno's role, we would have no creativity and Alexander Isak would have no service. So the only two roles I could see him probably playing would be Joe Linton's role, because Joe Linton's tasked with stopping transitions, but also a little bit of Sandro Tonali's role. Now, I wouldn't rely on him in that role, because I think Sandro Tonali does a good job in receiving off the back four and playing forwards. I don't think Ibrahima Bangura has that quality yet. He can learn that quality, but again, he would need to learn it. So against weaker opposition, he could probably play the Sandro Tonali role. But if you're playing against Arsenal, Liverpool, etc., I'd prefer him in that Joe Linton role. But look, guys, there's a full breakdown of what you're going to get with Bangura. Yes, there's some improvements to be made, but again, those are qualities that you can improve. Sometimes you can't improve your height, but he's got the height, he's got the profile. You just need to coach him into becoming a better player, making better decisions. And that's what Eddie Howe is exactly good at. Now, these are the types of players I want to sign, because when you're signing players for a low fee like this, his market value is about 7 million. So I reckon you could sign him for about 15 million. And you could probably pay that in installments if you wanted. So when you're signing players like this, it gives you the capacity to go and strengthen elsewhere as well. When you find a little gem that's got the profile, you can mold him into the player that you want, and you can improve him as a player. So you're not getting the finished article, absolutely not, but you're getting a lot of potential. And again, when it comes to midfielders, we don't necessarily need the finished article, because our midfield balance is very good at the moment. We've got our set midfield three. It's just when one of those is injured and suspended, that's where we fall apart. So we need to bring somebody in that can play those roles. And I've got absolutely no doubt, because of his defensive skill set, Bangura could fill in for Joe Linton. I want to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. But I want to hear your thoughts. Would you welcome Bangura to St. James's Park? Is this a type of profile we should be going for? Don't forget to hit your comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because we're close to 5,000. I really want to make 5,000. But I appreciate you all for watching. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day, and away the lads.